Today I'm going to be reacting to a video of the potential first female president. A while back I made a video, like I posted a tweet of the three women who I believe can be the first female president in 2028. Tulsi Gabbard, Ivanka Trump, or Candace Owen in a conservative side. And Bill Clinton believed that the first female president will likely be a Republican. So I'm going to react to one video. There's somebody who made a video saying that Ivanka Trump will be the first female president. And that actually makes sense because the Trump administration have been selling these Trump 2028 hats. Maybe he's setting Ivanka Trump up to potentially be the first female president in 2028. So I'll be reacting to this video.
Even mess makes sense. I'll speak to that a little bit. We actually have a lot of schools that use us.
During his interview for the Super Bowl, Donald Trump shocked the world when he gave this response.
Do you view Vice President J.D. Vance as your successor, the Republican nominee in 2028?
No.
And also, this video was like 5 months ago. So this video is like March, was back in March.
Oh, but he's very capable.
What did he mean by that? I think I might know. I've been thinking ahead to the next presidential election in 2028. My prediction is that the next president of the United States is going to be Ivanka Trump. And I will give you 10 reasons why. Watch.
And also, it actually makes sense because in 2016 and 2024, he defeated both Hillary Clinton and Kamala Harris to pave the way for his own daughter to be the first female president. That actually makes sense.
Watch this video all the way to the end because I think this is going to blow your mind. The reason Donald Trump's response about J.D. Vance was such a big deal is because the president's approval ratings are sky high. After only 1 month in office, Trump has a 52% approval rating. This same poll then rated each of Trump's policies, and every policy except for one had a positive approval rating. The only policy that people were unsure about was renaming the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America. The most popular policy was Trump's efforts to deport illegal immigrants, with 81% support. These are huge, extremely popular. He is some of the potential candidates for 2028. J.D. Vance, he is the current vice president. I cannot remember a single vice president who has made as big an impact as J.D. Vance has made in 1 month. Marco Rubio, he is a favorite of Republican donors and the current Secretary of State. This means he's gaining valuable foreign policy experience. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is the Secretary of Health and Human Services. He just ran for president himself and is extremely popular. Tulsi Gabbard is the Director of National Intelligence. She also just ran for president and is extremely popular. Also, the U.S. has a history of electing presidents with connections to the CIA, like George Bush, who was the former director of the CIA, and Bill Clinton, who had the CIA perform operations out of Arkansas while he was the governor. So it is possible that since Tulsi Gabbard is now part of the CIA, that they might attempt to install her as the next president. Vivek Ramaswamy also just ran for president. He just announced his run for governor of Ohio. No one can stir up a crowd like Vivek. Ron DeSantis, the current governor of Florida. He also just ran for president. He has a great track record as governor and is extremely popular. Kristi Noem is the Secretary of Homeland Security. She's currently getting enormous amounts of good press from solving the immigration crisis. Let me just say up front that I love all these people. They are all amazing. But here's the problem for Donald Trump. They are all going to run for president. Every single one of them is going to run. They all want the job. The Republican Party is going to eat itself alive trying to pick the next president. This is just like another season of The Apprentice. You have all these candidates vying to get a coveted job, and if anyone screws up, they're going to get voted out. I wonder if Donald Trump is going to do anything like The Celebrity Apprentice, where they take a season and replace all the agency heads with celebrities. I wonder what position they would give Kanye West. Based on his fashion choices, I'm guessing the Department of Defense. But all joking aside, the Republican Party has a problem. Trump has to keep the party from tearing itself apart. The best solution is to have someone who can continue the Trump agenda. That person is Ivanka Trump. Here are 10 reasons why. The interview. I did some digging, and I found an interview of Ivanka Trump that a lot of people missed. This was recorded in May 2016, and she was actually asked if she would run for president.
But have you given any thought to possibly being in the White House?
No,
No?
we'll see when we get there.
Yeah.
So I try not to think beyond too far ahead. We'll see when we get there.
No, tell me.
Did you hear that? She said, "We will see when we get there." That sounds a lot to me like she is running. Now, Ivanka Trump did release a statement in 2022 saying that she was stepping away from politics. She said, "I do not plan to be involved in politics. While I will always love and support my father, going forward, I will do so outside the political arena." But a lot has changed since 2022. The stakes are a lot higher now. She has watched her father be falsely convicted as a felon. She has watched someone try to kill her father twice. She has had a front row seat watching evil people attack her family. That changes someone. She now has to think about what kind of world she is going to leave for her children. I think she's back in the running. Celebrity. Ivanka Trump is famous. Name recognition is a huge advantage for her. We have to be realistic here. The average American does not even know the name of the vice president. JD Vance can do a great job for 4 years and people still won't know who he is. But people know Ivanka Trump. She has been in the newspapers and TV since she was a teenager. She was named in Time Magazine's Most Influential People in 2017. She was on the #1 TV show, The Apprentice. People know who she is. If you did a survey of Americans, I'm betting that a lot more people would know who Ivanka Trump was over JD Vance, and that is a huge advantage. Public speaking. Donald Trump is known for being a good public speaker, and I hope he doesn't get offended by me saying this, but his daughter is an even better public speaker than he is.
To the hardworking men and women across America and here tonight, you are the reason my father fights with all of his heart and all of his might. You are the reason he ran for president in the first place, and you are the reason he is going to keep fighting for 4 more years.
She is better than Donald Trump. Sometimes Donald Trump can be a little rough around the edges. Do you know what I mean? Ivanka, on the other hand, can be tough, but also very polished in her presentation. The MAGA problem. Make America Great Again, or MAGA, was probably the greatest political slogan ever. But there is a problem with MAGA. It's not going to be as effective in 2028. If Donald Trump just finished 4 years of making America great again, why would we need to do it again? You cannot just keep using the same slogan over and over again because at some point it just starts to sound hollow. What we really need is someone who can pivot MAGA to the future. Once Donald Trump fixes the damage, what is next? What we need is someone who can make America dream again. Remember John F. Kennedy.
We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard. Because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best of our energies and skills. Because that challenge is one that we're willing to accept, one we are unwilling to postpone. and one we intend to win, and the others too.
He was the type of leader who was really good at inspiring people to think about the future. In the 60s, everyone was talking about the future, living in space, flying cars, jetpacks. More than any of the other candidates, Ivanka Trump can bring that level of excitement about the future. Her greatest strength is that she is a dreamer. And I mean that in a very specific way. 7 months ago, Ivanka Trump went on the Lex Fridman podcast. Here she is describing herself.
So I remember at 15, I would look out over the city skyline from my bedroom window in New York and imagine where I could contribute and add value in a way that, I look back on and completely laugh at, how confident I was. But
that is a silly notion from youth, but it's not so silly.
Yeah.
Everybody tells you something is impossible, but if you continue believing that it's possible and have that sort of naive notion that you could do it, even if it's exceptionally difficult, that naive notion turns into some of the greatest projects ever done.
100%.
So she grew up with this dream. But here's the important part. She turned her dreams into reality. She went on to complete major building projects, including Trump Tower in Chicago, Trump Doral in Miami, and the old post office building in Washington, D.C. Ivanka has a proven track record of taking a dream from a concept drawing and bringing it into reality. This is a really rare ability. It's a combination of creativity, extreme self-discipline, and intelligence. You have to have all three to bring these massive projects across the finish line. Listen to how she describes this process when she was working on the post office building.
And in the case of a renovation, like if you're not walking those rooms, the number of times a beautifully laid out room was on a blueprint. And then I'd go to Washington and I'd walk that floor and I'd realize that there was a column that ran right up through the middle of the space where, the bed was supposed to be, or the toilet was supposed to be, or the shower. So there's a lot of things that are missed when you do something conceptually without sort of rooting it in the actual structure. And that's why I think even, with ground up construction as well, people who aren't constantly on their job sites, constantly walking the projects, there's just a lot that's missed.
Ivanka's greatest strength is that she can make dreams come true. She's done it again and again. Just imagine what she could do if she could take the dreams of the American people across the finish line. And I know that not everyone is going to like MATA, but don't forget, Ivanka Trump started her career in the rough and tumble world of New York real estate. If someone makes fun of MATA, she can just say, "Hey, what's the matter with you?" Experience. Ivanka Trump would come into the race with a lot of experience. She worked in the first Trump White House as a senior advisor. She was doing essentially what Elon Musk is doing now. She was sitting with Donald Trump in the Oval Office, making the hard decisions. She was involved in foreign policy and domestic policy. She is deeply knowledgeable about all the issues, and she already knows all the right people in Washington, D.C. because she has worked with them. She also has a lot of real-world experience. She's been all across the country, and she knows what Americans need.
Suddenly I was going into communities that I probably never would have been to. And I was talking with people who in 30 seconds would reveal to me their deepest insecurity, their gravest fear, their wildest ambitions, all of it, with the hope that in telling me that story, it would get back to a potential future president of the United States and have impacts for their family, for their community. So the level of candor and vulnerability people have with you is unlike anything I've ever experienced. But it's the only time when you're at home with your own children that you think about all the people you've met and you feel guilty about any time that's spent not advancing those interests to the best of your capacity. And that's a hard thing. That's a really hard feeling as a parent.
Ivanka Trump is one of those rare cases where she could hit the ground running on day one. Family business. Donald Trump runs a family business. I have studied his organization. All his kids worked in his real estate business. They worked on his TV show and they worked on his campaign.
What happens if there's a disagreement because your brothers are also involved in the organization with your dad, your brothers, and you?
I win, of course.
Ivanka says this is a joke, but how much do you want to bet that it's true?
You know, one of the interesting things, I'm sure there are many people in this room who are in family businesses, and I found them to either work out very well or very badly. And there's almost nothing in between. So it tends to be a very binary outcome. And I'm highly cognizant of that, as are my siblings. So in our case, we've been very fortunate that it does work really well. And hopefully that continues in the decades to come. But we don't take it for granted.
Donald Trump runs his organizations as a true family business. That means he's going to want to pass all of his hard work onto one of his children. Let's be realistic. Donald Trump has the opportunity to make his daughter the first woman president of the United States.
Yes, and he already setting up the groundwork because he defeated Hillary Clinton and he defeated Kamala Harris. And he's already selling Trump 2028 hat. So maybe he's setting her up.
I think he's going to do it. Don't mess with the mom. Ivanka Trump has not one, not two, but 3 children. There is a lot of strength in being a mom. Does anyone remember the comment that made Sarah Palin a star?
You know, they say the difference between a hockey mom and a pit bull? Lipstick.
Everyone knows you don't mess with a mom. And that is the same strength that Ivanka Trump brings. Some people will say that it will be too difficult to raise kids in the White House. Do you know who else had young kids in the White House? John F. Kennedy. So I don't see being a mother as a problem. I think it's a strength. And I know that her husband is busy and is a successful investment banker, but he can quit his job. He can stay home and take care of the kids so his wife can be the president. Wealth. Another reality of life is that if you're going to run for office, you need some level of financial success. So I just want to point out that Ivanka Trump is rich. Besides having a portion of the Trump empire, she has her own assets. In a financial disclosure form from her time in the White House, Ivanka Trump held assets worth upwards of $740 million. That was back in 2017. I'm guessing that amount is significantly more now. No scandals. One of the best things about Ivanka Trump is she does not have scandals like other politicians.
Yes. This is one of the advantages that Trump had. Like in the 2016 Republican primary, he did not have any scandal. And maybe the scandal that they can come up with if she were to run for president in 2028 is she made millions of dollars in Saudi Arabia. That's the only scandal that maybe they might come up with.
Now, I'm not going to sugarcoat things because she has had bad press, but let me explain to you her worst political scandal. When she was working in Trump's first White House, there was a controversy over a company named Goya Foods. Goya Foods is one of the largest Hispanic-owned food businesses in the U.S. The CEO, Robert Unanue, attended Donald Trump's signing of an executive order at the White House.
We're all truly blessed at the same time to have a leader like President Trump, who is a builder. And that's what my grandfather did. He came to this country to build, to grow, to prosper.
That is what started the controversy. A Hispanic CEO at the White House praising Donald Trump. The Democrats were furious about this because they expect the Hispanic community to support the Democrat Party. So they were thinking, how dare this Hispanic CEO make a public display praising Donald Trump?
Yeah, Trump actually did well with Hispanic in 2016, 2020, and 2024. In 2016, he had 28% of the Hispanic vote. In 2020, he had about like 32% of the Hispanic vote. And in 2024, he had 45% of the Hispanic votes.
High-profile Democrat accounts on social media started calling for boycotts of Goya Foods over this. Here's one that says, the CEO of Goya Foods is at a White House event saying we're blessed to have a leader like Trump. Make your shopping decisions accordingly. AOC responded with her support of the boycott by saying, oh, look, it's the sound of me Googling how to make your own adobo. But the Democrat boycott backfired, and sales of Goya Foods actually rose dramatically in both Republican and Democrat counties. Because of all the publicity, the CEO announced that he was making AOC Employee of the Month. Amidst all this controversy, Ivanka Trump posted her support of Goya Foods with this picture of her holding a can of black beans with the caption, if it's Goya, it has to be good. Donald Trump himself posted this photo with Goya products in the Oval Office. This made Democrats really mad. They started accusing Ivanka Trump of breaking the law. They claimed her social media post was an ethics violation because you are not supposed to use the White House to promote business products. Just so you understand this is Ivanka Trump's worst scandal. A can of black beans. I'm not clear that what she did was actually illegal. And if it was illegal, why isn't it wrong for AOC to call for a boycott in the first place? Why is there a double standard against Republicans? But regardless, the whole thing is ridiculous because it's over a can of black beans. When you think of all the numerous scandals of the Clintons and the Bidens, it is refreshing that this is the worst thing they can come up with against Ivanka Trump.
So the best thing that they can come up with is the fact that she made millions of dollars. Her and her husband, Jared Kushner, when they were working in the White House, they made millions of dollars from Saudi Arabia. That's the best I think they can come up with if I want to be objective.
Here is the number 10 reason that Ivanka Trump is going to be the next president. And this one will blow your mind. Election odds. People are actually already betting on the 2028 presidential election. You can go to BetMGM, which is a unit of MGM Resorts International, and you can place a bet on who you think is going to win. So according to their odds, here is our current ranking. First place, J.D. Vance. Second, Gavin Newsom. Third place is a tie between Josh Shapiro and Michelle Obama. Fourth, Ron DeSantis. Fifth place is a tie between Pete Buttigieg and Vivek Ramaswamy. Sixth, Gretchen Whitmer. And seventh place is a tie between Ivanka Trump and Marco Rubio. And the list continues down with all the other candidates I've already mentioned. Let's do a little bit of quick analysis. First, Kamala Harris is not even included on the list, not even further down. Nobody thinks she has any chance of winning in 2028. Second, let's quickly run through the Democrat names on this list because they all have some major problems. Gavin Newsom literally watched his state burn to the ground. He's out. Josh Shapiro's scandal involves a gruesome murder. If he ever ran for president, all we would be talking about is this gruesome murder. There's no way he's winning. Michelle Obama has major questions about her past that I don't think she wants people looking into. Pete Buttigieg is gay. The Democrats have destroyed any chance he had of running with all the LGBT nonsense they have pushed over the last 4 years. So he can't win. And Gretchen Whitmer is just crazy. No one really takes her seriously. All the top Democrats are very problematic when you compare them with the Republican field. So if we take out all the Democrats, we are left with this. Ivanka Trump is currently in fourth place. Do you understand what this means? If Ivanka Trump is starting out in fourth place and Donald Trump gives her his endorsement, that means she will be the next president of the United States. It's a done deal. Now, I'm not someone who bets, but even I'm thinking of putting money on this. I know that there will still be critics who will say that it does not make sense for her to run. It would be too hard, and she would be giving up so many other opportunities. I think the person who said it best was William Shakespeare when he said, "There's a tide in the affairs of men, which taken at the flood leads on to fortune. Omitted, all the voyage of their life is bound in shallows and in miseries. On such a full sea are we now afloat, and we must take the current when it serves, or lose our ventures." For all those who are saying that she can't win, the only thing I have to say to you is, don't count out a Trump. Now I want to hear from you. Do you agree with me or disagree with me? Let me know in the comments down below. And if you like this video, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on future videos. Also, my channel's been struggling a lot lately.
Wow. This actually makes sense. I necessarily don't have a feelings toward the other Trumps, but it makes sense because the last name Trump it means that you rank above the others. So in 3 years, maybe she will throw a hat in the ring and win it and be this nation's first female president.